Hello, my name is Veronica Johnson, and for my presentation number 4, I decided to focus on the 4E by 2 model. This model was introduced to me this summer through a STEM program that I attended at Rice University. And the program is used to help teachers integrate math and science simultaneously within their classrooms. And so the book that we read for this AMP engagement STEM program was Succeeding with Inquiry in Science and Math Classrooms by Jeff Marshall. So this is an instructional framework model, and it really focused on the 4E by 2 model, which is engage, explore, explain, and extend. I This model was new to me. I previously knew about the 5E model in HISD. They talk a lot about the 5E model, but I had not previously heard about the 4E by 2 model, but found it to be very interesting. So, with this instructional model, the teacher develops their instruction to help students master different concepts. It really helps to maximize learning and focuses on inquiry based instruction, which I really, really liked because it focuses more on exploring than explaining the material. And so students are able to gain understanding through investigation, and also the model focuses a lot on inquiry and your questioning that you're asking the students, meaningful questioning, and to help support long-term memory development through that investigation and also questioning. A really big component of the 4E by 2 model is exploring before explaining. So instead of front loading the class with notes or vocabulary or just basic information, the students would start off learning concepts by exploring through investigation. So I feel like this would be quasi experimental. The reason why I chose this, I felt like, and kind of what I want to do, even a little bit this new school year coming in, is, I was so used to with science. I've only taught it for 1 year in 5th grade, but very used to giving the notes on day one. And then we would talk about our notes, and then our investigation would be on Thursday, and then test on Friday. And I really want to change that. And I'm interested to see if student success and performance will increase and just overall flow of the classroom. I felt like the quasi experimental would help, because you wouldn't have to have a blind pool, and also you could compare the two groups together, and it's more of a before and after kind of study, kind of an experiment, but not really observation without investigator intervention. So just basically, like, I do plan to do this in both of my classes, but I'm in many ways comparing it to my teaching instructional methods from the year before. The 4E by 2 instructional model. So it has 4 main components, and then also 2 additional components. But the 4 main components are engage, explore, explain, extend. And then you also have the assess and reflect. But the 4 main are engage, explore, explain, extend. So in the engage phase, you want to probe for prior knowledge. You're trying to acquire their attention and also their interests. This is also where you would identify any misconceptions so that you could address those throughout the lesson. And then you want to provide interest inducing stimuli, like you want to get them on board with the content, and also develop your scientific questioning and ask them really meaningful questions in the engage phase. During Explore, this is when students engage in activities. So they're predicting, designing, testing, collecting, reasoning on different things. This is when they are actively engaging with their activities. So here's the explain after the explore. So this is where your notes will come in. And this is where you can help students connect their prior knowledge to what they found in the explore phase. This is also where you can help clear up any of those misconceptions. Inquiry comes into play in the explain phase because you want to help students reshape their previous conceptions and align it with new learning. And it really puts students in, I really like where the book helped to appreciate that, a recursive cycle between evidence and explanations. The last phase of the 4E model would be extend. This is where you're extending their knowledge and you're asking them to apply it in meaningful, authentic contexts. So, how can they connect this to the real world? What is the conceptual understanding of what they're trying to learn? This helps to have a more permanent mental representation of the content. So it's really important to remember that during this explain phase, the teacher is asking students about different patterns that they notice, evidence that they have for their claim. How are they going to explain their findings? Is there possibly any extra explanation for their findings? So really helping them have a full picture of the content that or the content that they have learned. And then during the extend, the teacher is asking them to apply or elaborate on their findings, and then also connect that to real world situations. So I've listed some questions here that could be asked, really some really probing, inquiry-based questions that could be asked in each phase of the engage, explore, explain, and extend phases. So for example, in engage, what do you know about this already? Building on prior knowledge. During the explore phase, they're trying to explore, what if this happens? How will that connect to this? Or what information do you need to collect? What was left out? During explain, again, what patterns did you notice? What evidence do you have? And then extend is, how can we connect this to the real world? Or how do you think something applies to something else? So is the 4E by 2 model valuable? I would definitely say it's valuable because it helps teachers develop reflective practice, which is really, really important for teachers to um, be in this reflective practice circle so that they can increase their instruction and also the usefulness of their instruction. It also supports individualized instruction by that explore portion of it coming before explain, helps students develop critical thinking skills through inquiry. They also become more self-aware in their learning. They learn to ask questions and seek solutions on their own without being probed to do so. Also helps students articulate their strengths and weaknesses as a learner. They're okay to be weak, or not know something. Like it's a okay phase. And then schools need to better represent the real world. John Dewey said about 100 years ago that school often gets in the way of learning, which means, and we do know, a lot of students lack collaborative skills and problem solving skills. So the 4E by 2 model helps in all of these areas. These are my resources. I appreciate you listening to my presentation. I plan to use the 4E by 2 model within my instruction in the coming year, and I really hope to see some really positive results from applying this method.